Colleen, I think you mentioned, I think Lindsay mentioned yesterday as well, Lindsay Shoup, that in the head of the Charles, is particularly as a rower, you really don't start to find your rhythm until after you get through that first bridge. It's kind of straight adrenaline through there, and you're hearing the boat, and it's very loud. And then you start to kind of settle out as you come around Magazine Beach, that kind of long starboard turn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think even that long starboard turn to Magazine, it's almost after you come off the rudder there when you pass Riverside Boat Club, maybe 4 minutes down, depending on the boat class, that you even sort of take that second stride. So that's right. As you come around Magazine, you lock into it, and then it's kind of another lengthen.
So we see Oak Neck Academy. We saw them very briefly in the shot. They are bow card 2. They're already ahead of bow card 1. And you see bow card 4 also having a tremendous row. This is very early in the race, first 3 or 4 minutes of the race. Y Quad Cities in bow 4 is charging so hard. Tristan Wakefield and Nicole Ramaraju. And Tristan was second in the single at Youth Nationals behind Isaiah Harrison that we saw earlier in the men's youth single, set a course record out here this morning. And Nickel was 4th in the double at Youth Nationals. So you've got a silver medal and a 4th place finish at Youth Nationals coming together for this doubles race in that Y Quad Cities boat, and they're going to the front.
They are, Y Quad Cities, I just love watching them scull in the quads, in the doubles, and the singles. They're just such proficient scullers, coached by Peter Sherris, this shell that we just saw push ahead, now leading the pack. They've overtaken bows 2 and 1 behind them, now charging towards the powerhouse stretch. And David, they're not afraid to use the stroke rate, so that demonstrates a level of fitness because they're getting the job done with power and a fairly high stroke rate.
I was thinking the same thing, Colleen, so I'm going to try to get everyone watching at home a stroke rate. 31 strokes a minute in that double, and you see the double from Oak Neck Academy in bow 2. They say, well, we didn't really like how quickly you got past us there, Y Quad City, so we're going to try to basically latch on to your tail and see if we can't follow you down the race course. Both of these boats, again, getting in front of Gavin Johnson and Griffin Fawning of Long Lake Rowing early, but there's still plenty of race to come. And the effort is definitely there tremendously from Y Quad Cities. Will they be able to continue it throughout?
Beautiful look then back up at the start as these crews start to get to a single file order, as it were, to come through that Boston University Bridge, ideally with about 10 seconds or so separating them from the start line. Another crew as they come under, looks like bow 31 taking a good press at the top. That's Atomic Rowing, keeping the stroke rate high. Jacob Trump and Dalton Peters, ages 17 and 18.
Yep, Atomic out of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, another site of one of our higher level sprint race courses in America. And I didn't see it. It looked like they were rowing with maybe new white blades, but typically they have a radioactive signal or sign on their blades because there is a nuclear power plant right next to that body of water in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. As you see side-by-side racing, bows 13 and 14 coming past Riverside and Seattle Scullers and Narian.
Good look for Seattle. Jake Adler in the bow seat, Jetty Lucier in the 2 seat setting the rhythm. And those bright green blades, coached by Matthew Zatorsky. A little bit of a cluster ahead of them, so they'll need to decide how they want to manage the course. You can see these crews trying to separate themselves.
Yeah, even saw a half fly off, and those two doubles are kind of pushing each other really close to those orange buoys, and it could get interesting around the turn as well when they get to weeks if they stay that close to one another and right on that buoy line. You really want to give yourself a little space off the buoy line. Typically going into weeks would be the best course, because then you set yourself up to have the room to make that turn.
And this is a part of the race too where you can take the right arch, and you might well want to if you look ahead and you see the cluster through the center arch. It's just as fast to take the right arch. The bigger point is to just take a straight line. If you pick up the right arch in the first bridge, take the right arch through the second bridge. But so far, you know, it's so good. These athletes are managing this quite well.
So Y Quad Cities on the right side of the picture, bow 4, they continue to be physically out front of the rest of the competitors in this men's youth double at the head of the Charles Regatta. Y Quad City is located, I think, right on the border of Iowa and Illinois. And Colleen mentioned that they are very, very proficient scullers. That is what they do, and they have had tremendous results at youth nationals. It seems like if Y Quad Cities is not contending for the gold medal in an A final in the sculling events, typically the team boats, doubles, and the quads at youth nationals, then there is something drastically wrong, because we're always seeing them both on the women and the men's side of those events. And it just looks it continues to look very powerful in that double.
They're keeping the stroke rate up, aren't they? They're just clipping it along up at the front. You can see how quick they are to the water. Good power and leverage to the back of the stroke. And the bowman in that boat just turning around, making sure his course is exactly what he wants it to be. Their speed, well, it's earned them the right to have a really nice line coming into the next bridge without anyone else around them. So you see them preparing for the Weeks Foot Bridge.
And we'll see what their turn looks like, because we probably will go to that picture on the other side. They were pretty close to the abutment there, so we'll see how wide their turn is. Pretty good turn, actually, as they come through. Maybe they didn't come in at the best angle, but they made up for it. And you can see just how quickly a double can kind of get sculled around, so to speak. In a couple of strokes there, can kind of change directions almost 70, 80 degrees that quickly.
Yeah, much different in the eights, which that turn at pace is significantly harder, but they've taken it really nicely. Y Quad Cities, Tristan Wakefield, Nihil Ramarouge.
Just looking at the times through Riverside, so about half or 3/4 of a mile behind where Y Quad Cities is at the moment. We're going to get another timing station pretty soon as they come through. But it looks like about 20, the boat from Burton Beach Rowing from Vashon, Washington, Davis Kelly and Jordan Dykema are sitting in second place at that first timing station. Jordan and Davis were both members of the 2021 junior national team. Jordan was in the 8, so now he is trading a sweep oar for 2 sculling oars, and Davis was in the straight 4.
And as with other youth events here at the Charles this weekend, there's a special medal for the under-17 winners in addition to the overall medal. It's a real testament to the commitment that the U.S. has put on junior rowing, indeed, but junior small boats as well. So we've seen that in other events, and that's applicable here as well. That's bow number 12 coming through Newport Aquatic Center. Ross Zeigler and Alexander Vu. It's their first race in the double. Wish them luck, they say in their bio. They're doing great.
Good luck. As you see Y Quad Cities coming through Anderson, and with a great point through Anderson, they continue to power through this race course. You can see Colleen just a little bit of a headwind there, but not tremendous. But sometimes, and we've mentioned it once or twice, sometimes coming through those bridges you really get whacked by the wind in one direction or another.
Yeah.
Not as much of a factor today.
Takes some skill to anticipate and make a change sometimes to your technique if the wind changes that dramatically. Right now, though, battle happening between Seattle Scullers, those green blaze and the shell right in front of them, I believe California Yacht Club, bow 16. They're both making it through Weeks Foot Bridge together, bow 15. Hayden Township High School. It's their first time racing on the Charles. And we'll cut to that vantage point of these doubles making the turnaround weeks.
Yep, Haddon Township, New Jersey. Looks like bow 10 on the left side of your screen. Bowman wearing a Volt hat to help us out. It's Resilient Rowing Club out of Burke, Virginia, excuse me. And then the very distinctive Texas Rowing Center, bow 9, top of the screen.
And a good straightaway stretch here to make a pass. That's exactly what it looks like they're trying to do. Bow number 10, Resilient Rowing Club. Great spot to do it. If you can execute a pass when you're not on the rudder on a turn, all the better.
Continue to be looking at a picture of Resilient Rowing Club.
And through the center arch of the Anderson Footbridge, just moving now into the last mile.
see good spacing of those crews, the ones that we can see in the distance approaching the big turn. As you see Resilient Rowing Club coming through.
So 55 competitors in this event. The course record was set by combination Salazar and Scheil. 16 minutes, 52 seconds, 0.4. That was back in 2017. So of course in rowing, course records, well, it depends on the wind, doesn't it? So tailwinds will help set faster times. Let's see if we get any records today.
It does, and even at the world rowing level, as you know, Colleen, they've dropped any, wind factors, and it's just the fastest boat that has gone the fastest in the history of the world is the fastest boat in the history of the world. And it's the same thing here at the head of the Charles. The conditions vary every single year, and I think it's relatively rare, but sometimes there is a tailwind for most of the race course, or at least a portion of it that maybe is less sheltered, and that helps. But we did see a course record this morning already, Isaiah Harrison in the men's youth single. So it is available, and certainly the wind does not seem to be coming up to an extent where I think it's out of the question for more course records. So we'll see what happens as they continue to move through this men's youth double.
So we're in the 20s now. We see a good handful of bow numbers in the 20s. This is Wilton Crew out of Norwalk, Connecticut, the inaugural season for Wilton High School Crew. And a good handful of other athletes with bows in the 20 as well. So Wilton Crew, it's Evan McDonald, Connor Murphy. And now we're riding back up at the top with bow number 4, having a great race, this wide quad cities combination.
It is Tristan Wakefield and Nikhil Ramaraju from Y Quad Cities, and they have been atop our leaderboard, maybe back and forth with Dykema and Kelly at the top of that leaderboard. And as they come through,
31
strokes a minute for these two rowers in this double, and it was 31 when we got them earlier on in the race. So they really have found a rhythm, and you can tell there's some grimace on the face. They are certainly leaving it out here, and maybe they're going to try to challenge for a course record. We're not entirely sure where the times are going to shake out, but they are going after it. You can see that boat, you can see the power in it, Colleen. It is really charging every time they pull through.
And a beautiful shot then as they come through. Tristan Wakefield in the bow. We see him just glancing over his shoulder here and there. Again, Tristan second at the 2021 Youth Nationals in a single. Sculling spare for 2021 U.S. Junior National Team.
It's a little bit difficult if you're not pulling a 548 to beat somebody who's pulling a 548. He did get the silver medal at Youth Nationals, as you see. 2 boats wide coming into Elliott. It's bow 6, Niagara Rowing School from Vineland, Ontario, Canada. And that was bow 1, Long Lake Rowing Crew from Long Lake, Minnesota.
Nice shot to the Windsor dock for them. If you're just joining us, this is the men's youth doubles, which began at 10:43 a.m. 55 competitors. All kinds of talent, and a vantage point now from the Windsor dock. We see the Niagara Rowing School coming toward us. Darling Preston, Alacia Perco.
And we want to mention again that there are medals for under 17 winners as well. So some of these crews qualify for the under 17 age group, and there will be a separate set of medals for those athletes here at our 2021 Head of the Charles.
Long Lake Rowing Crew, bow number 1, it's Gavin Johnson, Griffin Fawning. And back up with the Y Quad Cities combination.
Wakefield and Ramaraju. And the rowing, what we've seen as they come through the geese is that these two rowers have kept it consistent all the way down the race course. Now they've taken the stroke rating up because they know that they are approaching the finish line.
Wow.
But it looked like it did all the way through. Every time we got a camera shot of these two in this double, it looked the same until now when they took it up and they emptied the tanks.
38 and a half or so, somewhere just shy of 40 strokes per minute to round out the end of their race.
As you see, bow 10 coming through Elliott. Bow 10 is Resilient Rowing Club. Bow 14 right behind them, Nereid Boat Club, Rutherford, New Jersey. On the left side, that's Texas Rowing Center, Austin, Texas. To the right side, it's Burton Beach Rowing. That's the Davis Kelly Jordan Dykema under 17 entry that both of those athletes were on the junior national team, both in sweep boats. So it's awesome to see them out here sculling now at the 2021 head of the Charles.
It's California Yacht Club, bow 16.
California Yacht Club, Los Angeles, California.
Another good sprint from these guys.
Yeah, that was Oak Neck finishing up as you see bow 19 coming through, which is Haverford School, Haverford, Pennsylvania.
Jake Brewington in the bow seat, Conrad Reller in the 2 seat, coached by Jonathan Stepanek. Catching the last 10, 15 strokes for these shells. Good press. I love the sprinting that we're seeing, David. These young athletes just taking it up. They're fearless.
Well, a lot of these athletes, first time on the head of Charles Race Course, but they certainly know where the finish line is and where they've decided that they're going to take it up. As you see Miami coming by, that was Nicholas Dimitrakis and Gonzalo Cortez, both 16 years of age. Double from Miami Beach in your picture.
Coming through Elliott Bridge, about 750 meters to go from here. It's bow 23, Miami Beach Rowing Club.
Samuel Merenfeld, Kobe Feldman. And that double finished 10th at Youth Nationals, that combination over the summer.
Bow 25, Oak Neck Rowing Academy. Tennyson Kelly, Dean Safran, 16 years old. So qualifying for that under 17 recognition. And we saw some scullers this morning, David, 14 years old. Really, really cool to see that in some of these youth events. This is Bainbridge Island Rowing, bow 26. What a shot. It's Luke Watson and Luke Collins, coached by Bruce Beal.
Great shot that will live on YouTube forever for those two.
There goes Miami, bow 29.
Looking at the times, White Quad Cities unofficially with a 30-second win if it holds up over Dykema and Kelly.
Scullers from Seattle coming through the line. Getting loose here in the 2 seat, Jake Adler in the bow. Coached by Matthew Zatorsky.
'53 men's youth doubles coming through the head of the Charles Race Course. They're all in the second half of the race at this point. As we start to get into the 30s coming around the big turn. Looks like 38 maybe on the right side, as they've got a good picture there of the Port Jefferson Rowing Club double.
Port Jefferson also another under 17 combination. Preston Bidenkamp, Cap, and Alan Zhang.
And that's the St. Mark's School out of Dallas. Paul Valios and Brendan Kelly.
'53 entrants into this category. Fantastic depth, as we've been saying all morning, but bears repeating. The U.S. really placing a focus and a commitment to youth sculling, and it's paying off in the quads, in the doubles, and the singles. Such a pleasure to sit here with these 9 cameras and watch these races unfold.
Yeah, sculling is definitely on the rise in the United States, and I'm really interested, Colleen, to see whether some of these athletes that you saw in sweep boats, even at the Olympics, might jump over into some of the sculling boats, knowing the new emphasis on the smaller boats moving forward. A lot of them having a significant amount of experience in high school in sculling boats and then moving to primarily sweep in college, whether they want to go back and make the U.S. entries in some of these sculling events even more competitive at the international level. As you see bow 41 being trailed very closely by bow 44. 41 is the Hill School Boat Club, Pittstown, Pennsylvania, and they're being trailed by Triangle Rowing, Raleigh, North Carolina. So the men's youth, the next event will be the women's youth.
Welcome back to the 2021 Head of the Charles Regatta. David, what an exciting morning we've seen. Fantastic racing, so much solid youth rowing.
And fantastic conditions. So we have had mostly youth events so far this morning, and we're on the race course now with the women's youth doubles. We just had the men's youth doubles. We've seen the women's youth fours